He's like, I want to remind you that I'm in my 50s, Ellie. If you could just, also still recovering from a stab wound, just slow it down a bit. It's your girl Aisha, aka Geek Chic, and we are back with the reaction to The Last of Us. We are on the last episode of The Last of Us. Yes, I did it. And it's kind of hard to believe. It feels like this show just started the other day and we're already at the end, but it has been an absolute banger of a season already. And I have to think that the finale is going to be just as superb as all the other episodes have been. Look for the light. So last episode, we had poor Ellie going through probably the most traumatic experience of her life thus far. She had to literally fight for her life against that creepy jerk, David, who was trying to bring her into his cult and do a whole lot worse. And unfortunately, Joel was still very much healing from a very serious wound, but in the end she was able to barely, but still, get herself out of that situation, and Joel was able to catch up with her and, you know, give her that reassurance and comfort that someone would need after going through such a traumatic experience. So it was just a beautiful episode, but also very hard to watch at some points, and just difficult story overall, but excellently done by writing, acting, all those things. So now, besides that whole excursion that they did not plan on with the whole stabbing and the creepy cult, we saw that Joel and Ellie found out at the university that there is another base that the Fireflies seem to be moving to. So that's their next location. That's where they got to go next. Things are going to be a little bit more difficult because they did lose their horse because of this side quest, but I feel like they're going to get there, or at least very close in this episode. And then we're going to basically find out what happens, because we all know that this was the end goal for Ellie, according to oh gosh, her name just slipped right out of my head, but the original Firefly that kicked this whole thing off. So yes, I think it's about time that we find out what happens at the end of this extremely long road the two of them have been on. I'm ready to get into this episode, so I'm not going to talk anymore. Let's jump into it. But before we do, if this is your first time to my channel, welcome. Thank you so much for coming. I do reactions here to shows like this, as well as anime and other TV shows and movies. So if you are interested in watching me do that, please go ahead and hit that subscribe button as well as the notification bell. And if you like this reaction, I'd appreciate it so much if you gave some love to the like button as well. Just lets people know this is a good video and it helps my channel out a lot. And for those of you who've been here before, welcome back. Thank you so much for coming back. And if you haven't joined the fam already, I would love it if you did so today. All right, that out of the way, guys, let's get into the episode right about now. I was supposed to say, who is this? Because Ellie's hair ain't that long. Oh no. Oh no, save the pregnant lady, please, please. Oh, not labor. Seriously, baby, sometimes we have no sense of timing. Do I want to know what's chasing her? Watch your steps, sweetie, please. Come to think of it, I don't think I've seen a clicker outside during the day.
It's me!
Uh-oh. Who's here? Can't see this actress's face well, but it looks like Ashley Johnson. Am I wrong? Oh, there goes the water. Yeah, she's coming now, or he. Oh, okay. They can't open doors, so this must be a person that's after her. Or a group. Breathe. Yeah, I think it says Ashley Johnson. I hope that's for what's coming. What is making that noise? Since when can they open doors? She locked the front door. Now, did you get bit? Because she looked like she was going for your hand. And if so, will it affect the baby? You're telling me she straight up gave birth during all that? Oh my God, talk about traumatic birth. That might be a good thing if she got bit. Cut the cord quick, sorry. You don't want that blood traveling. Okay. Tie. Okay, all right, we got a sis who knows what she's doing. All right, sis, you see women getting it done? Not fighting for her life and giving birth at the same time. You tell me a man that can do that. Oh, cute little hands and feet. Okay, but you only have so much time before you're going to turn. Oh. And this is so heartbreaking, right? These are supposed to be the most beautiful moments, and she can't even take that much time to enjoy it. She can't even feed it. He is mad. Little grumpy face.
Hello, Ellie.
Ellie's mom. Poor Ellie came into this world fighting. No wonder this girl's like this. She didn't have a choice. Damn. That is quite the Ellie flashback, but as I said, it kind of explains both why she was so cautious as a child, but also why she's got that fight in her. That is nuts. That's probably the second craziest birth scene I've seen in a television show. First place going to Handmaid's Tale. Ah, she's back. Where did her other friend go that lost her ear? Are we still in the flashback? Just hit me. Because Marlene did say she found Ellie. I think we're still in the flashback.
Anna?
Oh, okay. That makes more sense. So they went out.
I didn't want to nurse her.
Yeah. Safe choice. Although in the end, I guess it wouldn't have hurt her, but we don't know. That's why maybe that's why she's immune.
I cut it before I was bit.
No, you didn't.
Before.
No, you didn't. But I understand why she lied.
You give her this.
No wonder it means so much to her.
How long have we known each other?
Yeah, this is a baby. You gonna let the baby die? Come on. That's interesting though, because from what we know, the infection, it shouldn't have traveled fast enough to affect the baby, but her mom had a lot of adrenaline. Explains why Marlene kind of would have had a somewhat special bond with Ellie.
No, please.
That was really cold, Marlene. But again, I feel like it's the hardest thing you can ask someone to do. This kind of reminds me of episode 3, right?
Cover her ears.
She did do it. Good. That's a heavy burden for Marlene to carry, though. I can kind of get why she didn't keep Ellie herself. But now, yeah, that really does make me wonder. Because I was saying, like, if her mom got bit, it's like too soon, should have been, for Ellie to have been affected. But her mom was on adrenaline, so her blood would have been pumping even faster. So maybe that's why Ellie is immune, because she just got like a touch of the infection, but not enough to hold.
Do you hear me?
Nope.
No?
Zoned out.
Beefaroni, Chef Boyardee.
Oh, cool.
Ravioli's better.
Have you ever played this?
It's hard to say. There could be so many reasons why Ellie's kind of out of it right now.
They had a guitar in that RV. Maybe I should find one. In fact, I was thinking maybe I could teach you. I bet you'd be great at it. You want to learn how to play guitar?
Look at the way things have changed with Joel being the one trying to force conversation between the two. In the beginning, he was the solemn one.
That'd be great.
And now he clearly misses the constant flow of Ellie chatter. I love it. It's shown how much their relationship has evolved.
Okay, so this is what I'm thinking.
Cut through that building to get around that stuff, find a skyscraper, go up and look around.
Something like that.
Found some dynamite in that RV back there.
Really?
No, so we're gonna cut through that building, find a skyscraper.
He's like, I want to sound original, damn it. The sets they create for this show are insane. That was definitely practical. Although now looking at this building, it might be on a construction site, which was smart, but still amazing. Joel, that fence is there for a reason. Most likely safety.
Come on, I'll give you a boost.
She's like, no, I'd rather read these plans that are no longer valid.
You okay?
No.
Yeah.
Clearly not.
Just you kind of seem extra quiet today, so.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, it's fine.
I kind of like that Joel's not pushing, though. Like, he could just be like, what's your problem kind of thing. But he's kind of hoping that Ellie will let him know.
Whoa.
Ellie!
You gotta see this!
Yeah, well, he would if you didn't throw the ladder at his face.
Up here!
You know she very much could have clocked that to the head.
Come on!
He's like, I want to remind you that I'm in my 50s, Ellie. If you could just, also still recovering from a stab wound, just slow it down a bit. Yeah, Ellie would never have seen a real one of those before. And thankfully, it's not in captivity.
Can you hurry up? Come on.
Yeah, these are not actually wild giraffes, but I guess she wouldn't know that. They are very used to people. And again, kudos to Joel for realizing she kind of needs this distraction right now. Something wholesome and real. And that is probably the first time she smiled in a very long time. This is so soft. He's like, well, thank you, human. I'm off now.
Come on, come on, come on, come on.
Okay.
Let her have it, Joel. She needs this. It's the first thing she's been happy about in a while. Whole herd. Do you call a bunch of giraffes a herd? But now I'm curious.
Is it everything you hoped for?
It's got its ups and downs.
Throwback.
We don't have to do this. I want you to know that.
After all we've been through, everything I've done, it can't be for nothing.
Interesting viewpoint, but I'm thinking she's thinking about what she just recently had to do.
And when we're done, we'll go wherever you want. I'll follow you anywhere you go.
That's all Joel ever wanted, truthfully.
We finish what we started.
I respect that, Ellie. And I really like that Joel made it her choice, right? Because I don't think Marlene really did that. Marlene basically said, you got to save the world, or we're basically going to bind and gag you and drag you to save the world. So at least Joel recognizes that it is a huge responsibility and it's her choice. So
They had me in one just like this.
With Sarah?
No, she was gone already.
oh, look at that. He didn't wince.
It was me. I was the guy who shot and missed.
Yeah. Wow. Do you know how huge it is that Joel's sharing this with her?
Sarah died. And I couldn't see the point anymore. Simple as that.
Understandable.
Went to pull the trigger, I flinched.
Mm-hmm. Because you weren't ready.
Still don't know why.
Because you weren't ready. You just wanted the pain to stop.
This
I
is...
know why you're telling me all this.
Do you?
Yeah, I reckon you do.
So time heals all wounds, I guess.
No, Joel is just starting to heal his.
It wasn't time that did it.
It was you. Don't make me cry. You're not going to do it, episode. Don't do it to me. Ah, and it was unspoken. Beautiful.
We should probably get going.
Yeah.
Yeah. Enough of this mushy stuff. But beautiful moment. Beautiful, beautiful moment. I don't even think he told Tess any of that.
Shitty puns.
Oh,
Not him asking.
that was actually good.
That's a 0 out of 10.
All right. What did the green grape say to the purple?
He's just so happy she's talking again.
That's a 3 out of 10.
7.
Hello?
Give it a
Oh my
5.
God.
5 out of 10.
Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. Run, 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 run. How dare you interrupt this beautiful bonding moment, you bastards. I was so into it that I almost didn't see them. Unnecessary. The amount of physical abuse that man has taken since episode 1 is not even funny. But I guess they didn't kill him.
Where's Ellie?
She wasn't hurt. Not even a scratch. She's mostly worried about you.
Oh, were you?
I had 5 men whose only job was to protect me. I still almost got killed. How'd you do it?
I'm amazing and persistent.
Bizarre.
Oh.
She felt like hell to get here.
She would have been dead on day 1.
Just take me to her.
I can't. She's being prepped for surgery.
It says what now? It says pardon? For what? Exactly. You can't just drop that.
It makes normal cordyceps think that she's cordyceps. It's why she's immune. He's going to remove it from her, multiply the cells in a lab, produce those chemical messengers. And then we can give it to everyone.
Yeah, but that doesn't sound like a guarantee. I heard you say think.
Cordyceps grows inside the brain.
So you know what that means.
We didn't tell her. We didn't cause her any fear. There won't be any pain.
No, you take
Oh,
me to her.
no,
you take
no,
me to her
no.
right
You
now.
have to tell her. You have to tell. Okay. Screw you, Marlene. For real.
I was there when she was born, Joel.
Yeah, and then you gave her
I promised
away.
Mother that I would save her child. I promised. So I do understand. Walk him out to the highway. Leave him there with his pack. Give him this.
Oh, Marlene, that's low. That's low. No, like I understand the deep moral choice here, but you should have talked to Ellie's not she's not your average 14-year-old. And the fact that she just knocked her out and didn't tell her, saying they had no other choice. Yeah, there's other choices. You could look for other ones. Now that you have her there, you could start doing tests. Jump to the worst possible conclusion right off the bat. Joe's plotting. See that face?
I didn't hear anyone say stop.
Oh, just studying the floors. You see how Joel's just calm? That's not like that mood that serial killers get right before they get into like the zone for a bunch of death.
The fuck are you doing? Keep walking. I said keep walking.
In the ball! He shot him the balls. He shot him the balls.
I don't have time for this.
It's about to say. That's right. How dare you? Didn't have to be like this, Marlene. You made it like this. Like, even if you'd given it a couple of days, you might have been able to talk Joel into it. Probably not. But you pushed it to this, sis. Joel said, I ain't messing around with y'all. I'm done. He was not joking when he said he didn't have time for this. Oh, I love the muted sound of the shots. That is well done. And that was that. Something tells me surrender's we're past that. Yeah, Joel's past that. Yeah, there's some moral issues with this, clearly, but... Oh, wow, he gonna make it personal with you. Yeah, no, Joel's not losing another baby girl. It's just not happening today. This music being overlaid with all this violent... Sorry. Is insane. Joel is literally wiping out this entire building. Pediatric. Wow, that hurts even more. How old do you have to be to stop seeing a pediatrician? I think it's like 13, 14. Actually, yeah, she would have technically still be that makes it even worse. He must be so scared. Praying he's not too late. Well, at least they were able to knock her out.
I won't let you take her.
Yeah.
Unhook her.
What part of the crazy man covered in blood didn't let you know that he wasn't about to talk to you? I thought Joel was just going to kill them too, and that would have been a bit much. Didn't have to be like this, Doc. Yeah, that's his baby girl now. Don't know how far you're going to get though, Joel. Oh, well, that's convenient.
Can't keep her safe forever.
You want to bet?
How long till she's torn apart by infected or murdered by raiders? Because she lives in a broken world that you could have saved. So what would she decide? Huh?
Well, we would have known, but you weren't going to tell her.
We can still find a way.
Yeah, I'm sure you can understand why he doesn't trust you now, Marlene. You didn't exactly go the trustworthy route the first time. Yeah.
And some others. Turns out there's a whole lot more like you. The doctors, they couldn't make any of it work. They've actually...
Yeah.
They've stopped looking for a cure.
Oh, Joel. Oh, Joel. Oh, Joel. Oh, Joel. Oh, Joel.
Are people hurt?
Yes, I hurt them. But we'll talk about that on another day. Or year. Or never.
Marlene okay?
Define okay. She's probably not suffering.
I'm taking us home.
Didn't answer the question. Glad he didn't lie to her about that. Second time Marlene's been shot in this show.
You've just come after her.
That's about what I expected from Joel. Not so much out of a mercy, but yeah, it's true. Marlene wouldn't stop. Ugh, this is such a morally messy situation. She still looks out of it.
That girl, she'd see a big rock and just...
This is so
Should've
good
liked you.
for him to talk about her.
Well, she was a lot more, I want to say girly, and I'm not saying that you're not girly.
I'm not.
It's not a bad thing.
Do you know why I think she'd like you?
Why?
Because you're funny.
She was too.
Anyway, I bet you would have liked her back.
Yeah, bet I would have.
You have no idea how cathartic it must be for him to be able to talk about her again. and not like freeze up.
Not much further now.
Hey, wait.
Great shot.
Back in Kansas City, you asked me about the first time I killed someone.
Oh, we're just getting deep. Okay.
We didn't know what to do, and she says, we can just wait it out, be all poetic, and just lose our minds together.
Word for word.
Her name was Riley. And she was the first to die. And then it was Tess. And then Sam.
That's not on you.
I know it.
Look, sometimes things don't work out the way we hope. But if you just keep going, you find something new to fight for.
Oh,
Swear to me that everything you said about the Fireflies is true.
yeah, she could sense you were lying, Joel.
I swear.
Joel. And she knows you're lying too.
Okay.
But she wants to believe you. Oh my God, you just end like that. Ugh. Wow. What a great episode. What a great episode. It definitely feels abrupt, but at the same time, it makes sense, right? The whole overarching mission or story of this was to get Ellie to the Fireflies and to potentially provide a cure, and that didn't happen. And now they're about to start their life again. So it makes sense that it would end there as abruptly as it did. But we already know this is season 2, so there will be a lot more. So I'm not so upset about it ending quite like that. Oh, so many things in this episode, you guys. Again, as someone who has seen the walkthroughs of the game, if you have not watched my reactions from the first one, I explained in that one that I did start playing the game. I got stuck in the middle, kind of forgot about it, never went back. But I did watch walkthroughs because I really wanted to see how the story ended. So I do know what happens, and it's even despite that, just seeing this all play out, like for example, just seeing so much backstory and different things that they're able to go into in this show that they didn't have time for or didn't find a place for in the game is so fascinating. And that this episode, I think, seeing once again an Ellie flashback, one that's even earlier than Ellie can remember, we see that she was brought into this world, unfortunately, in a very violent and scary way. But now we have an idea as to why she's immune. As I said earlier in the episode, on that chart we saw way back in episode 1, it was saying that infection, if you were bit like where her mother was bit, it probably would have taken, I think they said lower body, I think they said like 8 to 12 hours for a full turn. So as I was saying, it seems like her mother shouldn't have had enough of it in her system to have passed to Ellie. But then again, I don't know if she was bit in that moment or she must have been, because I was thinking maybe she was bit before she got back to the house. But that infection, she would have turned by the time Marlene got there, I think. But anyways, I'm not sure. Point being, apparently it had already started. The baby, Ellie did get the infection, but because I think of the fact that her mom cut the cord and also the fact that Ellie was still not fully out in the world, like I think that might have had an effect on, like they said, the way that the cordyceps grew. And we heard the doctor, or she said that the doctor said that the cordyceps was telling these other cordyceps that tried to take over that she was already a cordyceps, and that's why she was immune. But they didn't explain the fact really clearly that Ellie does have a cordyceps in her brain. That's basically what they didn't really clearly explain. And one teeny little game spoiler, in the game they actually show you the pictures of Ellie's brain, and you see the cordyceps, and you see it's actually quite large, and it's crazy that it hasn't affected her in any other way. But anyway, it would explain why she's a bit of violent tendencies, but I digress. Having Ellie, going up to arriving at the hospital and her getting quiet and withdrawn. As I said, there's so many reasons for that. One of them could be obviously that she's still processing what happened to her with the cult, but they didn't exactly explain how much time had passed between that and them getting to the hospital, but still it was quite traumatizing. But also Ellie realizing that this was a big step, right? Her getting to the end of this long journey and what it might mean, and her trying to make sense of everything that's happened. So she had a lot to think about, and it's kind of sad that we didn't get more dialogue about what she was thinking, because she's usually a verbal diarrhea person, right? She usually lets you know what she's thinking through constant blabber, but this is probably the first time in the series where Ellie barely had any lines until the end, right? Which is telling. And for once, we actually got way more dialogue from Joel. But I just thought it was a really great dynamic shift to see how, in episode 1, 2, and 3, Ellie was the one that was just chatting Joel's ear off, right? Just blah, 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 blah. And Joel just kind of either rolling his eyes or ignoring her or giving her monosyllabic answers. And then in this episode, he realizes that she isn't being her normal, very chatty myself. And he, it clearly bothers him because he knows that she's not okay. And so he keeps trying to fill the silence, talking about games and getting her to try to talk about things to get her back to herself. And what I liked, as I said in there, that he didn't push her. He could have just been like, what's your problem? Like, what's going on? He could have tried to force something out of her. But as I've said many times throughout this series, Ellie and Joel are very similar. And I think he knew that she's someone who she would talk when she's ready. And I think Joel's very much that kind of person as well. So he was just kind of waiting for her to feel ready to tell him. But his constant talking to her and trying to engage her was like his way of letting her softly know that he wanted, like, that he was there for when she was ready to talk. Having the little breaking point of the giraffes and having Ellie just kind of have that very purely childlike moment of wonder, seeing her first giraffe, like her first wild animal really for the first time, and getting to feed it and interact with it, and just seeing the lightness in her face. Like Joel looked the happiest he's looked all season, watching her enjoy that moment. And that's the kind of thing that, whether you're a parent or aunt or, just someone who's been around young people, as you get older, you start to appreciate a lot more the beauty that comes through just the pure innocence of youth. It's something that you forget a lot about as you get older. And Joel really definitely needed that kind of lightness after everything he's been through. So, but yeah, I think that was kind of the final crack or the final brick to fall from the wall that Joel might have had between himself and Ellie when it came to his past and Sarah and everything else that he'd been keeping walled up for so many years. And then we see him having that chat with her, that brilliant conversation where he admits that the reason he has the scar and he's lost his hearing in one ear is because he tried to take his own life shortly the day after he lost Sarah. And that makes sense. That completely makes sense, actually. And it explains so much. Sarah was his world in so many ways, and he loved her so much, and he blamed himself so much for her death, and still does to some degree. And just realizing that she's gone, and as a parent, not even just a parent, as a protector, as we found out early in the season, Joel very much identifies as a protector. He felt like he'd failed his ultimate mission, which is to protect his child. And so I could see how the next day, just absolutely overwhelmed with grief, just so ready for that gut-wrenching pain to stop, that he just thought the best way to do it was to just end it all. And in the end, like he said, he flinched. And it's because it's sad, but I'm not personally familiar with it, but I think people have to be at a very, 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 very specific place to be truly at peace with not going on anymore. And I don't think Joel was there, not the day after. I think he was just, as I said, absolutely drowning in the pain, and he felt it in every nerve of his body, and he just wanted that to end. And I could see where, in a world, the way the world was at that point too, with everything falling apart and chaos everywhere, I can see why he probably just thought there's no point. But deep down, he clearly wasn't ready to end. He wasn't ready to go. And, probably somewhere in the back of his mind too, it reminded him that he still had Tommy, and who he still feels very responsible for. So, but anyway, just the fact that he talked about that, as I said, I doubt that he even told Tess that story, right? I don't think a lot of people know other than his brother about what happened in that moment. And then later on, we see in the episode that, he even started talking about Sarah, which I'll get to, but these are all huge things because Joel barely talked about himself for the past. We saw up until about 2 episodes ago, we barely heard Joel talk about himself. So we see just how walled up he was and how much he's wanting to connect and how naturally it's coming between him and Ellie now. And that's the part that's just so beautiful to watch, how their relationship has blossomed in this way. And honestly, the fact that Ellie was kind of in her own head this episode and less talkative is what allowed her to hear all these things, right? Because she wasn't doing her normal, train of thought out loud. She actually got to let Joel do a little bit of talking and letting himself be more open with her, probably for the first time. But again, we see that Joel was kind of realizing too that when they get to the hospital, that would potentially be the end of the line for them in some way. And he wasn't ready for that. He didn't want this to end, this newfound connection, this newfound lightness he's felt for the first time in 20 plus years, right? He really wants this to continue. And so we see him eventually tell Ellie, hey, you don't have to do this. Marlene kind of pushed you into it, but if you really don't want to do it, like, we can turn around, like, we don't have to do this. And Ellie basically just saying that in her mind, and I guess that's probably the one thing she said that kind of let us know what she was thinking, is that I think she was very tempted by that offer, but she said, I've done so much, we've been through so much, and it feels like if I don't go through with it, it's going to be for nothing. And I just can't live with that. And I feel like, especially considering how violently she acted in the last episode, very justifiably so, but still, she must feel like, I've done a lot of things that have made me feel less than good. And so I want to feel like it was all for a purpose, that all these lives that were lost and all this experience and this trauma was for an ultimately, high level greater good and not just my own personal gratification. So we understand. I really appreciate that kind of shows us those are the moments that show us that Ellie is so much more mature than your average 14-year-old should ever be. And then of course we get to the hospital and Marlene is there and we find out from Marlene what's going to happen. And the biggest issue I have with this is that they didn't tell Ellie, that they just put her under and didn't explain to her why, and they were just going to go ahead and take her life and not say anything. And I think that's where Joel, I mean, obviously just knowing that she was not going to survive the operation was already a big enough problem, but the fact that they didn't give her the choice, I think was where Joel was like, nah, like this can't stand. And I agree with him. Like, yes, Ellie's a minor, and if we're talking about the greater world, the sad reality is if we were in the world today and something that horrible happened, and there were people in some level of power who found out someone could potentially be the end of that, they would not let that person decide. Like, that's the truth. I understand where Marlene was coming from, I guess is my point. Is it sick? Is it wrong? Absolutely. But morally wrong, I should say. But I understand the logic in that. It's like Marlene said back in episode 1, when she said Tommy's one person, but we're talking about the life of billions. That was the same logic. It didn't change for her here. She was like, Ellie's one person who could potentially save the rest of the world. So even though I literally looked at her mother's eyes and promised her I'd protect her, I'm going to have to sacrifice her because that's what I need to do. And so like I said, I understand the logic. I don't agree with it at all. And again, as I said, I feel like Marlene was highly underestimating the kind of girl that Ellie is. And again, I don't know how interactive she was with Ellie, despite, because, we know that she put Ellie into an orphanage, but it looks like when she did that, she basically just left her. But if she knew anything about Ellie, I was going to say she would know that Ellie is someone who's very capable of processing the depth of what that ask would have been. And as I said, I honestly think she would have chosen to go ahead with the surgery anyways, but I think that would have been the difference. And that's why I said that Marlene really screwed up, is because this whole we got to do it now, we got to rush. Like, I understand that yes, people are being infected by the minute in this world, but the way you go about coming to a cure, and how you deal with all this is very important too. And one of the things that bothered me about this is that she kept saying, the doctor thinks and he's theorized. Like, these are all saying, we don't know for sure. You don't even know for sure. Before the man says, let's do a biopsy and take a piece of this cordyceps inside of Ellie and see if it actually works and then kill her, we're just like, no, we're just going to go ahead and take it. It was very hasty. It just wasn't very smart. But digressing, I feel like if they'd even just taken a few days, if Marlene had been like, look, let's just give this a couple days. Let's just talk, especially when she saw that Joel was like freaking out. She should have just been like, let's take a few days. Let's talk it through. Let's go through some options. Let's talk to Ellie and let's let her make a decision. Because later on, we see the conversation between her and Joel in the parking garage where she says that Ellie would choose to do the surgery anyway. But I feel like that probably would have happened. And if there was any way to make Joel walk away from that hospital, as hard as it would have been for him, it would have been Ellie saying, this is for me and I want this and I know what I'm doing and I need you to let me do it. You know what I'm saying? Again, I'm not saying 100% that means Joel would have listened, because Joel, we know that Joel has his own reasons, but that would have been a much better approach. And as I said, there's so many other things that they should have been trying before going straight for we have to unalive you to get this cure, thing. But for the sake of dramatics in the story, we had to go this way. Plus, of course, I don't know how much medical equipment and how much they had there. Maybe they didn't have the option of doing things like biopsies, but all the same, in the end, I understand why Joel did what he did as well. We have to remember that Joel now sees Ellie as a child, like his child. He knows obviously that's not his child logically, but emotionally, that's his daughter now. That's his family. That's someone he has to protect. And very early in the show, Joel established that his job is to protect his family, that's the reason he goes on in this world. So the idea of another daughter being taken away from him was just something that he could not mentally or emotionally or psychologically begin to digest or accept. And that's why he couldn't do it. He said, nope. I could almost hear the dialogue in his head where he's probably listening logically to Marlene's words, but his heart, his feelings, his trauma screaming, no, we can't let her die. We can't let this happen. We're not going to let this happen. Not this time. Couldn't do anything to save Sarah, but I can save this one and I'm going to. And this kind of even calls back to what Tess said back in episode 2, save who you can save. And in Joel's mind, this was someone he could save. So he made an executive decision and he decided to get Ellie back at all costs. And I mean, as I said, there was definitely some morally gray stuff. He killed a lot of people, as we saw. A few of them surrendered, put their guns down, and he still killed them anyway. Again, I understand his logic behind that was thinking we don't want to be followed, but at the same time, someone surrendering and saying, hey, I'm not going to kill you, and you still doing it. Yeah, those kind of things definitely can come back to haunt in more ways than one. But anyway, but then we see that conversation in the garage with Marlene was telling, and Joel just basically listening to it and saying that, I can't lose her. And then Marlene again trying to help Joel see her point of view by saying like, look, like she's going to die at some point. You can't protect her forever. Just because you're giving her a few more years of life doesn't mean nothing bad will happen. So why not let her death mean something? And as I said, I get it logically, but that's not how we work as humans. We're emotionally attached creatures. We love people. We care about them. And the same way Ellie's mom, killed that clicker to save her own life, to keep the baby safe, and then even held off on breastfeeding her and all these other things, and begged Marlene to take her. Like, when you love and you bond with somebody, you do whatever you need to do, right? You just that's what drives your decisions. That's what gives you the strength to kill a clicker and give birth at the same time. You know what I mean? And for Joel, as I said, protect her. He needed to protect his little girl at all costs, his baby girl, as he called her last episode. So he wasn't hearing anything Marlene said. Logically, he probably understood. And again, if this had happened in episode 1, Joel would have turned the other way in a blink of an eye, but it's different now. That's his family. So he wasn't willing to hear it. And even though Marlene begged and said, hey, let me come with you, at least stay with you. And, Joel just basically making again an executive decision that Marlene would just keep coming after her. Again, a morally great decision. On the one hand, he wasn't wrong. Marlene was definitely not going to give up on the idea of a cure. But on the other hand, once again, he stole that choice from Ellie by doing it. By doing it that way, he didn't allow Ellie to have the true choice. And that dovetails into the ride back to Wyoming when Ellie wakes up and Joel chooses to lie to her about what happened. The same way that Marlene effectively was going to just go ahead and take the cordyceps from her brain without asking. Joel basically did the same thing by lying to her and not telling her what really happened. Would Ellie have been upset? A bit. She would have understood, though. She knows Joel well enough now that she would have understood. But Joel, again, making another executive decision, decided that he thought that Ellie thinking that her immunity was not special and that she couldn't do anything would be the way to stamp out any idea of her wanting to sacrifice her life for the greater good. That part is what was wrong. Because again, as I've said many times now in this review, Ellie is not your average 14-year-old. She's very, very astute. She's very smart. And I think she would have understood the gravity. And the same way that Joel in the end decided to keep pushing through instead of unaliving himself after his daughter died, I think that Ellie would have possibly decided to save her own life. We don't know. Like, maybe if she had gone back with Joel to Wyoming and they'd had time to sit and think about it, Ellie would have decided the same way. But again, the point is, she should have been given the choice. In the end, Ellie should have been given the choice, and Joel took that away from her by lying to her and saying that she wasn't special and that there was other immune and that the Fireflies really didn't need her anymore. And again, we saw that Ellie could see that something wasn't right. She knows Joel enough now to know when he's being straight up and when he's not. But as I said, little part of her, I think, wanted to believe Joel because, again, she likes this life. She likes Joel. She likes spending time with him. That's her new family. And the idea of being separated from him, I think, was one of the other reasons she was so quiet on the way there. So it's a lot. It's a lot. And we saw, like, again, on the way back, the walk back, and Joel's just talking on and on about Sarah, which, as I said in the episode, almost got me choked up because we've never seen Joel do that. Not since this episode 1. He's not talked about Sarah so lightly and so freely and so happily. And this is something he's been needing to do so badly because that's such a huge part of his life and who he is and why he became the way he was. But in the end, we see that Ellie had to ask, she said, you have to swear to me that what you said was true. Because again, you have to remember, she, like Joel, is carrying the weight of all the deaths that have happened around her that she perceives to be her fault. And we see Joel give her the speech that he should be giving himself about how bad things happen and you can't control it all, and that you just got to keep finding a reason. Like, no matter how sad and dark you feel, you just need to give it a little bit of time, and then you will see that there are more things to live for. And that is the truest piece of advice for grief I think I've ever heard. Like, that's very simple, right? It's not going to suck less, but you will find other things that will bring you joy, and that's really why you keep going on after a terrible thing happens. But in the end, Ellie kind of still wants to know because she knows that Joel was lying. Deep down, she knows Joel was lying, but Joel looks her straight in the eye and lies again because in his mind, he's made the right choice. He's committed to it. And Ellie just says, okay. That's how we end. But I think, again, this was her not saying, okay, she really believes him, but okay, I'm choosing to close my eyes and just let this pass, right? Because we know that when Ellie really wants something, she can be persistent. But I think, like I said, that she had a lot of apprehension going up to the hospital about whether or not she was willing to have her life change drastically now that her and Joel have bonded like this. And she wasn't sure what the right answer was. Once again, the logic warring with the emotional, right? Logically, she should give her life to save the rest of the world if she can through her blood or for her special cordyceps immunity. But emotionally, she's a 14-year-old girl who finally found a father figure and hasn't really experienced anything in life yet, and kind of still wants to just continue enjoying this beautiful bond and experience that she's had. And that overruled the logic, right? The logic would have made her continue to press Joel. The logic told her that Joel's story wasn't adding up, but her heart, the feelings told her, we don't care. At least right now, we don't care, because we're with the person we care about, and we have a chance at a life, a different life for the first time ever. So, so much there. Like I said, so much morally, so many things going on, so much reasoning for everyone that was in this episode. You know, the three main characters being Joel, Ellie, and Marlene, and just understanding everything from their perspective was a lot to take in, but so cool and really well done. As I said before, everyone did such a great job, and it was a great way to end this series. I think, again, solid episode. I can't say anything bad about this series. Like, this is the end of season 1, which is crazy to me, but I have to say, one of the best pilot seasons of a show ever. I said what I said. Like, I've watched a lot of TV and I've seen a lot of good shows, but this one, I would say, honestly, is probably number one as far as perfect execution of pacing, casting, the acting, the writing, the way they weaved the stories together, the way that they seamlessly took what was in the game and brought it to the screen, but did it in a way that felt natural and didn't feel weird. It didn't feel overly video gamey, but it didn't also feel overly dramatic or cinematic. Like, they did everything right, in my opinion. I can't think of a single nitpick about the show, to be honest, truthfully. If there's anything, if I really, really, really wanted to be picky, I'd say there could have been a little bit more elaboration in some areas, like maybe a little bit more about Ellie, or maybe a little bit more about Joel during that time in the 20 years before we met him. Like, little things like that would have given us a little bit more insight into each of their characters. But that's such a fine nitpick, because I think what we got was still more than enough for us to bond with these characters and care about their bond with each other and understand their journey and where they were coming from. So the writers did exactly what they were supposed to do. The set designers, you know, this wonderful sets. I still flabbergasted that they filmed this in my home province. It doesn't feel like a familiar place at all, even though it is in some ways too. And the mix of practical and CGI were done beautifully. And like I said, this show deserves every single award, in my opinion, for all the things: set design, screenwriting, acting, direction, all those things. I think it just knocked it out of the park. Like, this is the best adaptation I've ever seen of a game to a show, or game to screen, I should say. And like I said, probably in my top 10 of best shows ever, truthfully. Yeah. Truthfully, it was just a joy to watch, so much fun to watch, and I'm really sad the season's over, but at the same time, I feel like they did just enough, and it's enough to whet our appetites and have us absolutely foaming at the mouth for season 2, which I hopefully will not be too much longer from now. So what did you guys think of this season? Please leave your comments below about your overall thoughts of this season and what you thought they did, what they did right, what they didn't do right, if you thought they didn't do something right, and what your expectations are for season 2. So thank you so much for watching this season along with me. I hope that you enjoyed it. If you did, please give this video a thumbs up, and if you've not watched the other videos, this is all in a playlist, so feel free to go through and watch all the episodes I did react to for this season. And if this is all that you watch from me, then I will see you in the next season, but otherwise I will see you in the next video. See ya.